I welcome all to the Friday discussion sponsored by the Brookline League of Women Voters. And first, I have a couple of announcements. You'll see on the screen on Monday evening at 7:30 p.m., the Brookline League will co-sponsor with Newton, Needham, Sharon Stoughton, Wellesley Leagues to a program with 4th District Congressman Jake Auchincloss about the actions the legislature, this is the Congress, has taken during the most current session. I suppose everybody knows we just avoided a government shutdown because they were able to approve a budget just over, I think, Thursday night. And we know that there will be a there's significant things for our representative to report, including about the redistricting of the 4th district, which people may have heard there is some controversy over the way the southern part of the district was drawn, which I will leave it to the meeting on Monday for you to learn more and for the congressman to tell us about it. Anyway, that's next Monday at 7:30 p.m. And then Friday week from now, we'll do a review of precincting with our select board chair and chair of the re-precincting committee, Heather Hamilton, and the town clerk, Ben Kaufman, who will share with us the recently approved by the select board and submitted to the state redrawing of Brookline precincts that went from 16 to 17. So much more information will come next Friday on that topic. However, this morning, we have Brookline Information Services Senior Staff Feng and Ben Vivante with us to explain some plans for redesigning the town website and to ask for your input. This is an opportunity to help identify areas for improvement and, to be fair, areas that are working well. So I hope everybody will be willing and able to participate. And just for the record, for anybody who's just joined, the program is being recorded and it will be available online through our local Brookline information group, BIG. So with that, I will move on and invite our speakers, Feng and Ben Vivante. You may share your screens and give us information about what's going on with the town website.
Well, thank you, Madam DeWitt and members of the League. I'm Feng Yang. I'm the Chief Information Officer and I manage the town's IT department. Along with me is Ben Vivante, our newly promoted IT Operations Director and formerly a web developer who's spearheading the website redesign project. So thank you for the opportunity for us to talk to you about the town's website redesign. The website is one of the main sources for information about the town, a virtual presence of the town where the public interact and transact with its departments and services. The town currently uses a platform called Civic Plus to build and host the website. And we usually refresh the site every 3 years, 3 to 4 years, and not only to have a fresh look, better user interface, but also to incorporate new functionalities to improve, to gather the input from all internal departments and a wide range of community groups, make it more accessible, include some of the new functionalities that technology offers. So we also look at statistics where the public go on the site and use that as one of the many guiding principles for the website redesign. So we're very happy to be here and the goal really is to let you know about the redesign project and the timeline and get input from you so that we can incorporate that into the next redesign. So Ben is going to take you through the site, stats, and the redesign project timeline. And afterwards, feel free to let us know what you think, what worked, what didn't work, what improvements you would like us to make. And so without further ado, I'm going to pass you along to Ben. Ben?
Thanks, Feng. I'm really happy to be here today and looking forward to hear your feedback on the website. It isn't often enough that we get to do this, so I appreciate the time. I'll just start with, I don't have a long presentation. We really want to hear from you, but I do have a little PowerPoint with some of the key stats on the site, and I'll talk a little bit about the site. So on the agenda is just a review of the stats. We want to hear your feedback, and we'd also, if we can, like to just follow up with you on any improvements that you suggest so that we can, make sure they're not going to go by the wayside. This is stats for the last year on the website. So we've had a total number of visits over the last year of 1,183,000. That's well over 3,000 visits a day. And especially since COVID, this number has been fairly steady since 2020. But so since COVID, our visits have really risen, and to the tune of about 400,000 per year since the epidemic started. So a lot of people are coming to the website for information. The average time on the site is 3 minutes. That's also increased. So people are taking some time looking around on the site. That's actually a fairly high number for websites. We might want to see that a little lower to make sure that people are getting at what they need maybe more quickly. These are over 2 million page views and at least 3.6 actions per visit, and that could just be moving around to different pages on the site, or doing, paying for one of the many e-commerce services that we offer. If we look at and please interrupt me at any time with any questions as well about these stats. So if we look at the top visited areas, obviously the homepage is high up. Online payments are really huge for us, and our program has just expanded really over the years to encompass just about anything that the town sells. And if there's anything that we find that isn't being sold on the website by the town, we want to find out about that and make that a service. We've especially seen a big increase in our permitting over the last 3 or 4 years. So you can get a permit for just about anything. You don't have to come into town hall. We do get a lot of calendar visits. You guys know that Brookline is a very participatory community, and a lot of people going to board commission meetings on Zoom looking for information on the calendar. Facilities, just like the location of our facilities always comes up high. A lot of people doing searches to find our facilities within Brookline. Parking, huge number of visits there. That hasn't changed. People are looking at our staff directory, which we keep up to date. The assessor's database has always been an extremely popular part of our site. People looking at property values, and we have our online property search tool there. And sanitation and recycling also high. The health department, and this number has gone up quite a bit since COVID, as well as visits to the town clerk section, and that includes, of course, the voting section of the site. So those are some high-level things there. And then when we look at top searches on the site over the last year, parking is always just a hugely searched for thing, and birth, death, and marriage certificates, excise tax, building department, usually just around permits there, people looking for permit information or inspection information, job searches, as well as searches on the town clerk, and those would also have to do with voting. We do see about over 1/3 of our visits are from mobile devices, and that number has always just been increasing. So I wouldn't be surprised to see at some point that it tips over 50% with mobile devices. So every design, Feng mentioned, we do a redesign every 4 years, and every time we take a close look at how the site looks on a whole host of mobile devices, and try to make sure that it, it renders correctly on a mobile device, and that you don't have to, go down too many clicks to find what you're looking for. We know we definitely have room for improvement. It's a really large site. We have over 1,000 pages. We have 62 town employee contributors. So we sort of look over the architecture, and the individual departments edit their own pages. And we work on projects like improving e-commerce, adding new services, security, and accessibility. So in this redesign, we're obviously refreshing the look of the site. We want to have a little more modern look, and including maybe some larger fonts, and making it less busy on the homepage if we can. Usability and the ease of access. A lot of people have complained about our navigation menus on the left side of the site, as well as about our mega menus on the top of the site. So maybe sort of cutting down a little bit on the menu size, and just trying to get people to funnel into a page where they can find what they want. Obviously a better mobile experience. So I think we've spent a lot of time on that, but the more time we'll spend on it, the better, and especially around calendar type issues, because that can be challenging for people viewing the calendar and different views on their mobile device. We want to have improved search, and so it's been frustrating with our search recently, because we have a lot of sort of old documents. We have a repository of over 4,500 documents on the website, PDFs. So we're trying to cut down on the number of those, have people clean up their documents, so that you're not seeing so many old documents in search, as well as trying to add some type of precedence to the document. So for instance, if someone was typed in voting, it would show them, maybe first, like a list of precincts, something like that. So we're working hard on improving the search. We always are looking at the statistics and what they're telling us. So we get Civic Plus statistics, we get PyWix statistics, and we get Google Analytics statistics. And we look at those, and there's so many stakeholders within the site, and everyone wants to have, their button or their item on the front page of the site. But we do have to keep in mind, what people are doing the most on the site, and try to, for instance, make it easy to go and pay a bill. We know most people are doing that on the site. And we always do community outreach and engagement when we do a redesign. So meeting with you guys is part of that, and we're also planning on meeting with the TMMA if we can, as well as the Chamber of Commerce. We've met with them in the past during redesigns. I've met with every department in the town over the last 2 months to go over all of their content, and those meetings are continuing with follow-ups. And I've encouraged every department to invite me to one of their board and commission meetings. They think I'm joking when I say that, but I'm serious. I'll go to any board and commission meeting and talk about the website and get feedback. So I'll be happy to come, and I'll be going to a couple subcommittees of the diversity committee this month, actually. So the timeline that we're looking at for the redesign is, it's already been well in the works in September. We've been working on this, but we've just started to engage with Civic Plus, as Feng mentioned, the company that provides the content management system for us in the design. And we're going to be working with them. It's usually a 6-month process with them, but we think we'll be able to accomplish it in 5. And we're hoping for a launch of the site probably after town meeting in May, if we can, if everything goes well. It usually goes pretty smoothly with them. Along the lines of feedback and boards and commissions, we also have a survey on our site. So it's right up on the top menu, the website survey there. And we we haven't gotten a lot of feedback there, so we're trying to advertise that in social media and on our listservs, but we'd love anyone to just go there and fill out the survey. We take those survey responses really seriously, and we try to incorporate them in the design. A lot of times it's frustrating for me personally if I hear if I get forwarded an email from, say, the TMMA list where someone's complaining about the website and they never talk to me about it. So if they, I think that all of the town meeting members that I've dealt with can at least say if they send me an email recommending an improvement for the site, that at least I'm going to take it seriously and get back to them and hopefully remediate any issue. Just on the site itself, I'll just go there just for a second, just to mention these icons here. Hopefully we'll get a nicer icon set in the new design, but these icons for the most part come from the Google Analytics that we do that tell us that people are looking for these certain areas, right? So we have e-commerce up here, parking tickets, reporting concerns, jobs is a big one, but we also throw in some other ones to try to get, for instance, to try to get people involved in government. So we have this Get Involved section, which we're always asking for feedback on, and it has a bunch of different ways that you can get involved with the town and with the website. So I think that's my presentation, and I'm just I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. No criticism is too harsh, and no compliment is too great. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Ben. I'm just going to ask you a general question, and then I'm going to, before I do that, folks, you can write a question into the chat, or you want to speak, and we have time for people to raise your hands and actually ask a question directly to Ben. So if you would do that, there's at the bottom of the screen, you can see a little raised hand sign. If you put that up, Dave has his hand up, we will call on him. And that's, if everybody can see his hand up on the screen, you know what it will look like if you put your hand up. But I will start with a general question, and then we'll go to the first one in the chat, and then we will hear from Dave. My question is, how much do you depend on staff members providing you with information? And I'm going to use a sort of current but weird example. I happen to be looking at the calendar the day after, well, it was Thursday after the last day of town meeting. And on the calendar, there was still an event that would be town meeting on Thursday night, as if it had not been shut down or completed, I guess I'm trying to say, on Wednesday. So my question to you is, how do you update? What's the factor in how it gets updated so that you do not have a calendar that says there will be a town meeting on the night after town meeting has been closed? And I can imagine that's true of a lot of other comments that you, coming from staff, internal information. Does that flow work well? Does it need improvement? What's going on there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it probably does sound like it needs some improvement. As I mentioned, we aren't really the at least in the IT department, we aren't really the content providers.
Right.
So we rely on our employees to do all of the calendar posting. And usually there's sort of like a block of dates for town meeting that are set. Maybe all of those dates won't be used, but they get put on the calendar at an early point. Before you know whether it's going to be a long town meeting or not. So I think it's a good point that you raise, and I'll make a note of that and have some follow up with the people that are posting those dates, just to make sure that while the town meeting is going on, that they're checking those. For instance, when we had that one night delay in town meeting, was that well represented on the calendar? So that's a point well taken, and I'll follow up with the internal department that posts those.
And I asked you particularly, I think, because you said it was one of the most visited sites. Okay, from our chat, we have a question from Joan Lancourt. What are you doing to get feedback from residents of the Brookline Housing Authority and or from people who are not fluent in English?
Yeah, that's so. So there's a couple, I think, good questions there. The Brookline, so the Brookline Housing Authority, I think that's their liaison with the town is the housing section of planning. So I think that they have some information on their within their pages about that. The Brookline Housing Association itself, though, I have been in contact with, and we actually have, given them access to our calendar, so they can actually post things on our calendar. And any of these, they're not really like a town department, but any of these types of agencies that want to get a message out, the best way to do that is to go through the town administrator's office, because most of our latest news and social media content goes through them. I certainly don't mind receiving any of it, though. So if they were to send me an email to help them try to advertise something that they were doing, I would make sure that it was done without any issue. There's a larger question there, though, with how do people view the site with that aren't native English speakers, and that's a much bigger concern, or a big concern of ours. We're concerned about everything, right? But so we have a language switcher on the bottom of our site, which will switch right here to any language. It's a Google switcher. Google Translate, right? But that in itself isn't really enough. So what we're trying to make efforts to do in the redesign, and it's sort of become I think somewhat of a hot topic in web design, is to try to make the reading level on the site like a 5th grade reading level. That's what Boston does. To try to make the content a little easier. At least, some things we're going to have very detailed reports. We can't make them fifth grade level, but at least to get in initially and understand maybe the top 10 or 20 things that you want on the website. Those things really have to be in very plain English, and that will also make the translation better. So I hope that answers your question. That's something that we're working on.
I was just gonna say, we're happy to meet with the BHA director to solicit feedback from him and from the BHA residents through him. And we have a good relationship with him. And we also, this is our first, probably one of our first community engagement, activities to solicit feedback. So, if there are other groups that you think that we should meet, we're happy to meet with them. Yeah. So
thank you, Feng. Now I'm going to go to Dave, whose hand is up. You'll have to unmute yourself. Yes, you have the floor.
Hi, thanks a lot for doing this, and thanks.
Please identify yourself for the.
Sure, Dave Porter, resident and parent in Precinct 6. I am working with Jeff Watchter, who is of Brookline for Everyone, among some other things, on some projects, some sort of civic engagement projects, and I'm interested in putting in a little bit of a broad plea, I think, for consideration of opening up data where that data is structured and makes sense, and structuring it where it makes sense to structure. Opening it up via some kind of API, some kind of web API, and just having the ability to, the calendar would be the sort of easy first example, and maybe there's already a way to do that, and I'd love to hear about that as well. But just in general, to have the ability to sort of remix the content that's on the website in other ways. The idea that we're currently pursuing, just as an example, not as like the thing that needs to be fixed, right? Because the idea is to open it up to lots of to any idea that comes along. But the current one we're toying with is kind of remixing information in a geographic, like a per precinct way. And it would be really nice to have access to the calendar, and it would be really nice to have access to sort of all kinds of other stuff. Do you have any plans for that? Is there a resource that that's already there that I'm not aware of? And can that be a sort of an important thing that in y'all's
then I can
plans?
jump in on that one.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, Dave. That's a really good
Hi.
point. Have you visited our open government site or?
I went.
Yeah.
I went
landing
looking for
page?
it, but I didn't find it. I'd
So
love
if
to find that.
Then can show you under government, open government to the right, all the way to the right. So that's sort of a landing page, and then there's data that's shared. So
Okay. Master
yeah,
meeting calendar.
if you so there's financial information. So open checkbook is there. So there's an API and all the permits that are actually made available, and there's an API available for you to tap into. So we'd love to talk to you more on, what you have envisioned. And our website redesign is really our FY22 community engagement effort, our SMART goal. And our FY23 SMART goal is open data. So yeah, let's talk more.
Okay.
So
Absolutely.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, Dave, I think I'll also just jump in there on the calendar. We have had some issues with Civic Plus just because it's like a .NET technology and sort of proprietary, but they actually recently have made some strides in their RSS feeds on the calendar. So there may be some way that you could extract data through the RSS feeds, and those are all listed on the calendar pages. But I'd also be willing to work with you on that as well.
Great. Okay.
And we have a follow-up question in the chat, which is related to this, so I'm going to bring it up now. Was there at some point a community calendar separate from the town calendar, which I think would imply listing of events that are not the town organization structure events, but other kinds of activities that would be of community interest?
Yes, yeah, we've tried community calendars more than once in the past, and I don't, for one reason or another, it's never really worked too well. It's usually become the community calendar of one organization that decides to use it. So it hasn't been as widespread as we would like it to be. So usually with community events, we ask that those get, again, funneled through either myself or the town administrator's office, and then we sort of promote those on social media and within our latest news section.
Thank you. Okay, Kate Becker, you have your hand up and you may unmute.
Hi there. Thank you again so much. I'm sorry, Kate Becker. I'm in precinct 3, where I'm a town meeting member and a parent. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. We're excited about the refresh, and I'm thankful again that the Get Involved page exists now. I'm so happy every time I see that little button. And as I was looking at the boards and commissions section today, I was happy to see that there's now that online form that someone who is interested in joining a board or commission can fill out. And I would love to talk more about what we could do to get more timely and accurate information about which boards and commissions have openings, what business they tend to take up, what they might be looking for in an applicant, how we can get that information out there more easily. And I know that there's a sort of complicated communication question there, and would love to know what the best sort of entry point is to start to solve that problem.
Hi, Kate. Ben, I'll jump in.
Yep.
First, I want to thank you, Kate, for your input in the last round of redesign. That was very helpful, instrumental, and the Get Involved button is very, really, I think that's your idea. So that really helped us. So about boards and commissions, I'm very glad you brought that up. Our town administrator's office, especially Devon Fields, she's spearheading getting the boards and commissions module implemented, and that's just about to be ready. So you will see a lot more updated information there. So
Moving in a good
terrific.
direction.
yes, definitely.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there were other people who had questions. Donna Silverman, do you have a, oops.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Betsy. And also I want to thank the team, the wonderful team of two, for giving your time to us today for such an important topic. And also your generosity and openness in inviting points of view to consider to improve the website. Your flexibility is really impressive. So thank you for that. So my question is, what vehicles is your department utilizing to get the broadest message to the entire community, encouraging people to weigh in on the website as to its improvement?
Yeah, so thanks. That's a good question. And so we've been, we're always soliciting feedback on the website. Our latest effort is the website survey link that you can see right up there on the site. It's like a SurveyMonkey survey where you can give feedback on the site. And we've been advertising that on our listservs as well as in social media, but that's gonna, ramp up even more. So we also just going to the community groups, TMMA, as I mentioned, you guys, Chamber of Commerce, any other community group I'm happy to go to. We're always, soliciting feedback from them. Our listservs are one of the primary ways that we reach out. So we have a What's New listserv, which is just, it's not focused on any board or committee. It's just sort of latest news in Brookline. And that has a subscription of over 3,500 people. So you'll see some messaging. If you're a part of that, you'll see some messaging go out on that. And we've also discussed, we will have things under latest news, but we're also thinking about having a, sort of a, maybe like a focus group, first internally and then externally with some just regular Brookline folks on improving the website.
Yeah, and in addition to what Ben said, sorry, I just want to jump in, and we also are going to use social media and get the message out so that people know the website survey exists, and then can provide us with the feedback as well.
Thank you.
All right, now I have a question from the chat. Is there a way to easily let people know about the open government page? The writer says, I'm a town meeting member and didn't know about it. And I'm going to throw in my own observation, which is it should be one of those buttons across the site, the first, the opening where you first see the site. If open government was one of those buttons, that would, it seems to me, increase its access. But sorry, you guys, what's your thoughts?
I think that's why we're here. We
Okay.
heard you, and we wrote that down, and we'll incorporate that into the next design.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, Marcia Lapson, you have your hand up.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, first of all, I'd really like to compliment the use of the calendar for signing into meetings. That's been seamless. I'm not an IT person, and I have a couple comments. I wish that the searches could be more specific. For example, Sarah Brown Dog Park, so that I wouldn't get everything that Sarah Brown was ever involved in coming up from 214. And secondly, I do not have Microsoft Word or Excel, and your spreadsheets and documents seem to be in that, so I'm unable to copy them without a very complicated process on my computer, which is beyond me. And I would wish that you could make those, and I had to ask somebody about this, but into PDF files, which I would be able to copy and print. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Great. As I mentioned, we are trying to make improvements on the search and give precedence to the search. So I've made a note of that dog park, and maybe in one of the in the tests that I do of that of our new search capability, I could just reach out to you to see what you think of that. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name again.
Oh, my name is Marcia Lapson, and that was a made-up topic. It does not exist. There are
Okay. Okay.
Don't try
Okay.
for that
So
one.
that's why I didn't find it. Okay. Okay. Well, in any case, I'm still working on the new search capability. So maybe I can just drop you an email on a test page when I have that search up and running. And I'm sorry, I'm as I was doing my search, I missed the last part of your question.
Certainly. It is not possible on my computer without going through great gymnastics, which I am not able to do, to print out your spreadsheets or documents because they're Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word, which I do not have on my computer, and I expect many people do not have. If I am told, if they were in PDF files, then I would be able to print them out.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm really sorry to hear that, because we want every document that gets uploaded to our site to be converted to PDF. And our system allows for on-the-fly easy conversion so that our users, our web editors, don't have to convert it themselves. So if you can just tell me or drop me an email with, where you're seeing the Word document, I'll also take a look myself. Then I'll get in touch with the folks that are posting those and make sure that they're converting them. The only time where where I'd actually like to see Excel is where we have things like we have our entire assessors database in an Excel spreadsheet, and that allows people to download the spreadsheet and then analyze the results in any way that they want.
Okay, could I would just comment again about the spreadsheets, in particular, the one I was unable to print using, I use Google Sheets, was the town meeting members list with their emails and phone numbers.
That's interesting.
I may have missed something, but perhaps it's there and I just didn't see it.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I've always sort of wondered whether that that should be in PDF, but people have specifically asked that it be in an Excel sheet so that they can download that list. It contains all the email addresses of the town meeting members, and then easily use those emails in like a listserv to solicit the town meeting members.
Can it be done both ways, PDF and Excel?
I think I don't see why not. So that's something that I'll talk about with the town clerk, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Now I'm going to move on to the next question. Janice Kahn, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. And I'm a big fan of the IT department. As Feng knows, I love the mapping in particular. As someone who appreciates visual data, I think the GIS maps are really very impressive. And I checked recently, and they're far more extensive than I remember them being. So I know that you keep adding to the map library. So I wanted to reflect back on something that Ben said earlier about the historic documents and sort of culling them. And I have just the opposite sort of interest, which is to really create better archival searching. And because I think that it's really important for us to have that ability to trace back. And I'll give one example, and I know it's something that I think is being done in the town, but the history of our bylaws, that we, at every town meeting, we tweak our bylaws, and it's very useful for us to see the evolution of the bylaws, I think, in this town. And I know that that's something that the advisory committee sort of dabbled in a little bit, but I think that there's a more rigorous effort to get that data there. So that was one piece of feedback. And the other thing is wondering about just thinking about advisory committee. I know that we added money to improve security, your ability to improve the security of the website. And I'm just want to know whether you have the funding to do everything that you are hoping to do as you retool the website. So.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for that feedback. I'll take the first part and maybe let Feng take at least part of the second part of that. I don't want to make it sound like we're just, deleting all sorts of records that would be useful for people to do research. So, for instance, the board and commission files and data, we're not trying to pare that down. We're encouraging people to keep that information on the site. So if people are searching, reports on a board or commission, they're available. What I'm talking about is sort of like if you were to do a search on our site, say for DPW's open house day, you'd come up with about 10 or 15 years of PDFs on DPW's open house. And we certainly don't need those. It's interesting that you mentioned the bylaws though, because I agree that there should be a complete revision history of that. So, in the past, the town clerk has looked at some software to manage that. And I'll follow up with the new town clerk and see, what Ben Kaufman, see what his thoughts are on that. So thanks for that comment.
And just a follow up on the document conversions. In the chat, we have a comment that might it be possible if the documents page had an option to convert and download for formats other than what it's presented. Now, I have no idea what the technical issue there is, but I can certainly see it as a desirable option.
Yeah, I mean, I'll check with Civic Plus on that to see whether that's available. I haven't seen that in the past from them. And then usually the solution to that is to put every document up as a PDF and then in its native format and then in a text format. And that, seems like it may be worth it, but we do have to sort of think about the amount of work that's going to involve for our town employees. Rather than say upload one document, they might have to upload 3 or 4. So I'm sure we'd get some pushback on that. So that's one that we'd definitely have to think about.
Okay, thank you. Now our next question comes from Carol Siebert.
Thank you very much for coming today. This is all very useful. I have a rave as opposed to a rant for you. You made reference to the spreadsheets that have the listings of town meeting members. And you may know that the League of Women Voters Brookline puts out a voter's guide every year. And we rely very heavily on something that you do and do well. It's a listing of the candidates for positions on the town meeting as town meeting members. And that list is, it includes email addresses and it is regularly updated. We can find out quickly who has returned their papers as candidates and is serious about running. And that is kept very up to date, I think, on a weekly basis. And without it, we really couldn't put together the voter's guide. So thank you for that.
And I second that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Betsy. I thank you, Carol, for that comment. And I just want to also very quickly kind of get back to the second question that Janice had about the budget. First of all, I want to thank you, all of you, for your support for the IT department. I think for this website project, we think we are okay. But it also depends on the input that we get, and then how much customization we're gonna need. So I believe we should be okay. So as far as the other budget items, and we'll go through the budget process, and then the town minister's office is very supportive of IT, and you guys are very supportive of IT, and we're looking for the cuts that were made during COVID to be put back, and very minimal. So we'll go through that process in a budget process. So thank you all for your support to the IT department.
Earlier, John Van Scoik had his hand up. John, are you still with us? Do you have a question?
I am still with you, Betsy. Thank you for asking. And thank you to Feng and to Ben for this really informative meeting and for the work that they do. And I also want to thank them for a couple of conversations that we've had individually on this, either by email or over the phone. So I just want to emphasize that when I look at this project, I see the distinction between the architecture of the site, I think that was the word used earlier, and the content and the use of the site as a medium of communication to the public. And where I find that we, hopefully will strengthen the site and improve the site and its usefulness in the future is through a combination of the architecture, which Ben and Feng have addressed very well in today's meeting and are continuing to address. Combination of that with a focus on how are we currently using our capabilities, our internet capabilities, as a communications tool, and is there a person who's in charge of the communication effectiveness of it on a daily basis, and not just the sort of architectural smoothness of it. And that I just want to underscore that so that we don't lose sight of that. And one way to measure that, and one way to answer that question is to visit sites of other communities. I don't think we should ever be hesitant to do that, and to ask ourselves, is there something happening on the sites of other communities that we could learn from and imitate in Brookline in terms of how active the welcoming page is, in terms of the use of the welcoming page to spread news, and to give the appearance of you will always find the most up-to-date important information when you come to this page, and it will lead you to additional support for any information you need in addition to what is on the welcoming page. I do find that across the board, a lot of other communities have a much more sort of a dynamic approach to the page. And you will find, if you visit, say, the Arlington page or the Cambridge page, just to cite two examples, that there are ways to turn that welcoming page into almost a daily bulletin of all of the things we need to know today that maybe we're not exploiting in all the ways that we could in Brookline. And I'll just leave my comment there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, John. I think we've talked about this in the past, and that's a great comment, and something that we, Feng can also talk about, but something that we always sort of struggle with, because we're not really the content creators. So, we provide, as you mentioned, the architecture, but I'm 100% with you. I'd like to see more items about what's going on in Brookline on the front of the homepage.
Okay, other questions? Donna, you have your hand up.
Yes, I comment, and John, you've made a valid point. I also want to mention that undoubtedly there are other communities who are looking at our wonderful site and deriving ideas to improve their site. So kudos to both of you in the IT department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. we definitely are looking at a lot of municipal sites right now to get ideas.
Okay, are there any other, I've got a couple of things in the chat, but are there any other people who want to speak now? If so, you can just wave your hand at me. All right, well, that being the case, I'm going to follow up here with a couple of chat items. The question, I guess it's a suggestion, is that some municipalities use GitHub.com for tracking changes to bylaws and similar things to great effect. And I think this addresses some of what Janice Kahn was asking about the ability to track history in documents, which I will say I personally also much appreciate. I'm a member of the Town Committee on Organization and Structure, and from time to time, when we change a bylaw, we need to dig deep into figuring out what the old one was and what the next one was and the one after that, and then how we might want to properly amend. So the having access to that historical data is important. Whether everybody needs to use it all the time is not clear to me, but just access to it is useful. So Ben, thoughts?
Yeah, Feng, I don't know if you wanted to jump in there.
Yeah, I can jump in. Ben Kaufman, the new town clerk, he is wonderful. He's made so many changes and advances, and he's actually currently working on with IT, town bylaw codification project. So there's definitely work that needs to be done. It's going to be a lot of work, but we are definitely going that direction. So. And
Yeah,
Ben, you have something to add? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just say I love the GitHub idea. I think that's great. GitHub is really a great site. I use it quite a bit for like programming, revisions and programming, and I hadn't heard of it being used for bylaws. So that's something that I'll investigate.
Very helpful suggestion, then thank you. And then there's just a general comment, which I totally agree with. And that is that the Brookline Neighborhood Association could circulate the survey to neighborhood association listservs for you, which might be useful, just extracting it from the website and sending it out as a survey. The league has extensive listserv, which if it would be beneficial, we could presumably share that sort of document. And the Town Meeting Members Association also has a listserv. My comment to you is simply that it might be very helpful to use some existing organizations to circulate the questionnaire document separately and get feedback that way. And it seemed like a useful suggestion. So.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and I'll get in touch with Derek Young in our planning department. He's in touch. He keeps the list of all of the neighborhood associations, and I'll have him send out an email to them. And then we'll also just draft something for you guys to send to your list. You can use it if you'd like, or change it in any way that you want, but we'll email that over.
Okay, it's the Brookline Neighborhood Alliance that does the communication with local neighborhood associations, and the person who seems to coordinate that is John Bassett, if that's of help to you, Ben.
Okay.
We can track that down separately.
Thank you.
But I would say, at least I certainly think using organizations lists to generally give that information out is at least one way of reaching out to individuals who may or may not join a group like this. Having said that, any other questions or comments from people who are with us this morning? If not, I'm going to say thank you to Feng and thank you to Ben, both, for being with us, for being very helpful in describing some of the tasks and challenges you face. And I hope some of the feedback you've gotten this morning has been helpful. And if there are ways that we at the League can help you by following up, let us know. because we really do appreciate what you do. And we know that everybody in town relies on that website. It's a major source of information, broadly speaking, and it's critical and essential, to be fair, to many people in the town, to most people in the town. So we thank you very much. And I've got a message here saying the IT department is doing a great job on redevelopment efforts. Thank you very much. And consider a tutorial when you get the new website up and running. So you might want to think about that one too. Okay.
Great.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Betsy, for the opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your support. Yep.
Really, really appreciate it, folks. Thanks much and stay safe.